Today I have something a little different and something a little silly. What inspired this was so backstory. I'm a lurker in a couple different cosplay Facebook groups, and one of those is a group I have definitely talked about before, and that group is Cosplay Marketing. I've never posted in that group, and I don't think I've ever commented on any posts in that group, but I see the posts come up. And I recently saw, 3 or 4 posts, all basically the same questions that were how do I, it's always how do I be a cosplay guest? What should I ask for compensation? How much do social media numbers matter? And that inspired me to create for y'all a PowerPoint on my thoughts on this subject, and how I've gotten to be a cosplay guest at a couple conventions. I actually haven't been a guest at that many conventions. At this point, it's a pretty good number, but this year, I only had one guest spot, and that's MomoCon. Welcome to my little lecture on how to get invited to conventions, a PowerPoint based on my own experiences. And I would love to hear any of y'all's experiences that y'all have had in the chat, because I am only one person, and like I said, I've not really been a guest that many times, but I'll let you in on the ways that I have been a guest. So, are we ready, class? Let's go. Okay, so the first thing you need to understand is that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. For a lot of us, this is really hard because a lot of us were just I don't want to be reaching out to people. I'm afraid of rejection. But the reality is that the people that ask are the people that get picked. So the first thing now is that a lot of cons will have applications on their website. MomoCon has cosplay guest applications. I think they have regular guest applications too, and cosplay is just part of that. But if the con you are going to, if they have an application, just fill it out. That's the easy one. That's the no questions, fill it out. The worst thing you can do is get a rejection. If there is not an application, send them an email. There's probably a contact form or something on their website. Send them an email. Be I'm so-and-so. I'm a cosplayer. I'm wondering if y'all are looking for cosplay guests. Here's a link to my social media. I can do panels. I can judge stuff. I'm a great host. Basically cold email your cosplay resume to cons. Is that something I have done? No. But is that something you're allowed to do? Yeah. Alternatively, if you can't find an email, DM the people. We'll get to why this stuff is important, but the biggest thing is don't be afraid of rejection, because it will happen, and it is not personal. Because 1,000 no's and 1 yes is still 1 yes. That's still 1 con you get to go to. And bother people a lot and don't be apologetic about it. The thing is the more you are willing to literally ask conventions to have you as a guest, the more likely you are to actually be a guest. And that is for anybody at any social media following. We will get into when social media following matters and not, but for now, for everybody, applying, bother people, bother them, ask to be a guest. Can confirm that emails work, says Pixel Drop. It worked for my friend almost every time. You see what I'm saying? If you're not asking, you won't get as many invitations, or any at all. Okay, next part. Get your name out there. How do you get your name out there? Well, having a social media page is important. The numbers on that page are not as important as you might think they are, but having a library of your work that people can go look at is very important. Because if they're like, they have no idea who you are, and you're saying you're a cosplayer, they're gonna want to go look at something that shows them that they are a cosplayer. Local cons are always dying for guests. Yes, that's also an important thing. Which is also why you should follow your local cosplayers, and you should also follow the people that like go to the same cons as you. That way you can find and you can make cosplay friends, because the sad reality of this whole thing is that who you know matters a lot. That is what I have learned from my own experiences, from what other people have told me. Who you know is the biggest factor, and it's not necessarily like you need to know like really popular cosplayers. You need to know the cosplayers in your community, and the biggest thing is you need to get to know the cosplay staff at your local conventions. But the way you do that is you make some friends. So follow your fellow local cosplayers, people that go to the same cons as you, make some cosplay friends. Another great way, because again, the goal here is to get to know the cosplay staff, because those are the people that decide who the cosplay guests are most of the time. And competing is actually a really good way to do that. It shows that you, first of all, it shows them that you are a cosplayer. It shows them the level of work that you have. You literally meet the cosplay staff when you go compete. You will probably interact with the cosplay director if you're competing. Which is why you should be nice to them. You should always be very nice to them. You should be nice in general. But if you don't compete, if you're not somebody that makes your own costumes, but you still want to try to get to know the cosplay staff, your option is you could volunteer. But that's also something you could do on top of competing. And those are things that have nothing, absolutely nothing to do with social media numbers. Going and showing your work in a competition is a great way to get your name out there, get it in the mouths of the cosplay director and the staff. And as long as you're nice to those people, like win or lose, you met somebody, and maybe if you were nice to them, then, you know, maybe in a couple years they'll go, "Oh, I remember you. I loved your work." It's important. But if you don't, if you're not ready to compete yet, go volunteer to be on the cosplay staff. And then as you grow as a cosplayer, oh, they already know you because you volunteered. It is a lot of nepotism. It is a lot of nepotism, but this is how you get into this system. If someone can vouch for you, it also helps. One of the things about knowing other cosplayers, and this is something another cosplayer told me, I have a friend of mine that, you know, they have like a pretty decent following on social media profiles, but it's not like a crazy number, but they get invited to so many cons. And when I asked them how they do that, their answer to me was that they basically developed a group of friends where when those friends go to cons, they recommend each other to the cons. Is anybody familiar with the concept of MMO reputation? I know not everybody's played an MMO, and not everybody's played like an old MMO that has this kind of system, but essentially, in older MMOs, particular in Final Fantasy XI, there's this reputation system, right? Where for you to be able to do a certain quest in a certain region, you have to like build up enough like reputation in that area by doing other quests over and over again. And I firmly believe that, so my the way I talk about this is like the way you get invited to cons and the way you get, like the way this happens has a lot less to do with social media numbers and a lot more to do with your MMO reputation, which is your literal reputation. But what I mean is like you doing stuff like competing, like like volunteering. That adds to your MMO reputation, your fake MMO reputation that is real. A big thing to note is that, like, yeah, if you have big numbers on social media, that is a way to get invited as a guest. It's a way. It's definitely a way people get invited as guests, but it's not the only way. And I've been to so many cons where there's incredible cosplay guests that don't have big social media followings. They're just talented cosplayers that got to know their local con staff, and their con staff is like, hey, you're a really great cosplayer. Come be a guest. Another important thing, again, be nice to people. Be nice to people online and offline. And curate high quality content. I feel like you don't have to be like super self-conscious about like what your content looks like, especially if you're just starting out. But if your Instagram page is like all like memes, right? Or something silly like that, you know? And you're not like you don't have like a page that's just like showing off your work. People are going to be less likely to be like, if your whole page is memes, they might even be like, is that even a cosplayer? But if your page is, if you think about it more as like, this is my cosplay resume, and you put up high quality content, then people will be like, yeah, I want that person. Get to know, this one's important. Do get to know your fellow cosplayers. And find people that you vibe with, but be respectful to those that you don't, and treat them with the courtesies of a coworker if you don't like them. The cosplay community is not very big, and we all kind of know each other, so be nice. Just be nice to people. Even if you don't like them, you're allowed to not like them, but just be nice to them. And get to know your local con staff, which is very important, and try not to burn bridges. Some bridges have to be burned, but try not to burn them. This is the big thing, because I feel like this is the stuff that I was always seeing in cosplay marketing, is like, do I not have enough of a following to be a guest? It really has nothing to do with how many people are following you. It matters who is following you. Is it your local cosplayers? Is it your local people that work at the con? Nepotism. It's sad that that's like it, that it's not like partially it's a merit system, right? Because it's like if you get to know people like on the con staff by competing, like you still have brought in merit in that you went and you competed, and especially if you win, then you showed your merit. But at the end of the day, it is a lot of nepotism, and it is a lot of people that just like have networks of friends that recommend each other to cons. Like I've gotten a guesting spot like that before. We have a little tortoise and a hare. Because the other thing that I want to make very clear is like, you do not have to, like in your first year of doing cosplay, like in your first year, the likelihood that you'll be a guest is like astronomically insane. Like I started cosplaying in 2011. I started making cosplays in 2013. The first time I got invited to a con as a guest was 2018. And I was asked to judge. I think that was my first one. I tried to make this about like, my biggest point here is that, like, yes, we all know that if you get a big following on the internet, people are going to start contacting you to be a guest at conventions. It's just the way of the world. I think what platform that happens on also plays a role, but in general, yeah, if you have a bunch of social media numbers, cons will start coming to invite you. But I also know, because I've been to lots of cons, that there are plenty of cosplay guests who don't have big followings. And how do they get there? This way. They know people. And that's something anybody at any size following can attain. But I will say, cons are more likely to invite people that are established cosplayers. Like, if you've been cosplaying for a few years and you have a large body of impressive work, then yeah. And if you know people. Oh, okay, this is the part I want to talk about. Meet the cosplay guests at convention. This is what I wanted to talk about with the parasocial stuff. And what I don't mean by that is, I do not mean the people that, you know, already have a big following. Because what I'm talking about is when you go to a con and there are cosplay guests who have a pretty small following, a common thing that happens with cosplay guests like that is you kind of end up just sitting at your table for a long time. And, you know, usually at least what a cosplay guest has is they'll have like their work displayed. The interaction that people really want, they're not like, don't go up to people and try to be like immediately their friend, right? You have to come up to them as a peer. You're a cosplayer, they're a cosplayer. You are both peers. And the thing you have every right and every comfortability to talk to that person about is their work. So if they have a cosplay on a mannequin, start asking them questions about that cosplay. Especially if this is a person that you've never heard of before, like, ask them questions about how that was made. That is not overstepping any boundaries. That is exactly what that cosplay guest is sitting there for. They might have stuff for sale too, and if you're nice and you want to buy something from them, then yeah, buy something from them. But making sure you are both staying within the boundary of like, this is a peer-to-peer professional interaction. There's a way to talk to people. Like, I'm basically telling you to network, right? You don't necessarily want to go up to the people that have a really big following, because the likelihood that you will like connect on some level with that person and like that they will follow you back on social media and now you have a friend, that is pretty low, right? But if you go up to somebody who has a small to medium following and you have a genuinely great conversation with them about cosplay, about their work, and then you go follow them, they might follow you back, and then you continue to interact appropriately with each other on social media. Maybe then that forms a friendship, right? Maybe it doesn't. But at the same time, you've now met them. They know who you are. You got your name out there, maybe. And now you know somebody that already knows the cosplay staff. And don't be like weird and don't be parasocial with people. Like, honestly, the best thing you can do if you like we all have that thing where like we are excited. This is a whole different thing. This is like you want to go meet a cosplayer because you're a fan of them, right? And you are like, maybe you're a little bit parasocial about it. The best thing you can do, honestly, because people have done this to me, is be like, I feel really weird because I have, you know, parasocial relationships are weird. You can literally just say that and be like, hi, I really like your stuff. It's really nice to meet you. That's cool. If you feel weird, like, oh my god, I know so much about you, just say that. It's like, the weird thing is acting like that person knows you. Like, that person knows that you know, like, about them, and that, you know, they don't know anything about you. So just remembering, like, it's okay, because it's okay to know things about cosplayers that put that stuff out. Like, it's okay to know, like, oh, that they just did this cosplay, or that cosplay is my favorite, or so, whatever like that. But just remember that they don't know who you are. There's also the people trying to become my friends specifically to get my more popular friends. Someone tried to do that with me to get to you! To me? Okay. So what Lux is describing is clout chasing. I think we've all heard of that before. That behavior's weird. Just saying. Yeah. Don't do that. Don't, like, find people you actually vibe with. You know what I mean? Like, it is more important to become part of your local cosplay community. A way to do that is to get to know the other cosplayers. A great way to do that is to talk to the cosplay guests. But don't be weird about it, you know? I'm essentially telling you to clout chase, kind of, but not really, because I'm not telling you to, like, go to the most famous person, because then, and, like, suck up to them so that they follow you and, like, you become friends with them. No, I'm telling you to go find your peers. Like, people that are, like, you know, on your, you know, your fellow cosplayers, people that have, like, made it. They're gonna be more guarded, just like Lux said, you know, because of people like clout chasing. I think that's what I mean when I say, like, maybe don't go up to the people that have, like, the biggest following. Like, if you go up to Kamui Cosplay, you're not gonna become her best friend. But if you go up to the cosplay guest that's at the end of the row that has 2,000 followers on Instagram and nobody's coming up to talk to them, and you go up to that person and you see their build sitting on the table and you ask them about how that cosplay is made, they're gonna be so excited and so happy to tell you everything about how that cosplay is made, because that's a genuinely lovely conversation. And it's a great conversation starter. I didn't finish reading the chat. Lux, that totally rings true for what my friend has said. Asking how something was made is the best way to flatter a cosplayer. Yes, it is. My friend who guests, she does a lot of marketing by walking around the con floor while I man her table. It really helps her grow as well. Yeah, that's another thing, like just the grassroots, like the little cards. If you have cosplay cards, like, it's a very slow way to grow. Much of this sounds very similar to getting hired in major film or TV set. Yeah, the nepotism. Nepotism is everywhere. You know, because we don't have, like, unless the con, like, going back to the top, the best way to get invited to a con is to bother them about it, right? But what will help is the more people that know you, the more likely you are to actually get invited, you know? Or maybe you are just sending them an email every year, like, please invite me, and eventually they're just like, yeah, that's valid, you can do that. Let's talk about when you get invited, what should you be asking for? We gotta ask for the monies, because they have the monies, and it's important to remember that what you are doing is work. You are working. This is work. And everything I'm about to say applies to everyone of every level, of every social media size. This first thing is the best case scenario, but it should be the thing, it honestly should be the first thing you ask for, and if they need to negotiate it down, then they do that, but this should be what you ask for. At this point, this is my, like, requirement for me to be a guest at a con. So, best case scenario is a day rate. That means they pay you money per day you are there. You also may do, like, I usually do, like, a rate for a day that I'm judging and a rate, like, per panel that I do. But they should be paying you to be there because you are working. Plus, per diem. That means food money. They give you money for you to buy food with for the weekend. Plus, hotel stay. They should be paying for your hotel. Remember, you're not just doing it for yourself and the entire... Oh, and parking pass. I didn't put parking pass in there. All right. Hotel stay. Travel expenses, also a parking pass. Though I would argue that I feel like the parking usually goes along with hotel, but parking. parking, travel expenses covered. If you are flying to that convention, they should be paying for your flight. If you are driving to that convention, they should be paying for your gas. You should be able to get multiple badges. I forgot to put it on here, but you should be able to bring an assistant. If you you should be able to bring an assistant. For me, that's like my bare minimum is day rate, per diem, hotel stay, travel expenses, multiple badges, an assistant, and possibly, this one's an extra, depends on what you're doing at that con, but maybe also a booth comp, meaning you don't have to pay for your booth and you get a booth so that you can make money. And that you should expect that at any following of any size. And I will say what Pin says. And remember, you're not just doing it for yourself, but the entire cosplay guest community. Because if we all expect this treatment, remember, we are not unionized, but if we all expect this treatment, then we will all receive this treatment. But every single cosplay guest, no matter what size they are, should be getting this treatment because they are working. They're providing work. And I have been told, Diana told me this actually, that Diana, who was in the, she was in the Sweden video, she works for Holiday Matsuri. She used to work for Anime Expo. And one of the things she told me about that was when they would, you know how after a convention they'll give you those surveys and you fill them out, and one of those questions is usually like, what is your favorite thing about the con? Well, according to Diana, for Anime Expo, the top 3 things almost every single year were dealer's room and artist alley. Those are the top, and she said that those sometimes switched positions. So dealer's room and artist alley and cosplay. Cosplay always had the 3rd spot. Cosplay is a integral pillar of anime conventions, of all conventions. And we are important. We deserve to be paid fairly. However, the absolute minimum that you should accept, and I give you the huge caveat that you should only accept this if the con itself, absolutely cannot afford to give, any guest this kind of treatment. And I'm talking about micro conventions. So, college conventions, a con in its very first year that's very small, that's maybe a day con. The absolute minimum that should be offered to you is a badge and a booth. Meaning you get a free booth and you get a free badge. That's your minimum. But that should only be done if the con itself is super small, right? You should only accept this when you do not have to travel and when the con is too small to offer more, because it's essentially you are volunteering at that point, which is a fine thing to do and a great way to support a small growing convention, because small conventions are very important. And if you want to volunteer your time, and also, but you're basically volunteering your time for that convention. However, with the booth, if you can ask for a booth, do ask for it, because then that gives you an opportunity to make a little bit of money. The middle of the road, a mid to large con that's maybe local and driving distance, your minimum should be a badge and a hotel. Badge and hotel. Your whole hotel stay, badge. Maybe they're, they can't afford to give you per diem or a day rate, but they've paid for your badge and they give you a hotel. You get to go to the con for free. If the con is small, I'm okay with you taking that. But do not take that. Don't ask for that, right? Basically, you want to ask for the green. You ask for all of that because you deserve it. You deserve it. You ask for all of it, and if it gets negotiated down, that's fine. But you ask for all of it. You're setting the standard. We all have to have the same standard, or they're gonna start, because it didn't used to be all this stuff. It didn't used to be you could have all this stuff. Back in the day, you would I read this in Yaya's book recently. back in the day, Yaya Han had to fight to even get more than a badge. Like, she would have to pay for her hotel. She was settling for the badge in the booth. And I think the badge in the booth should only be done if the con itself is really small. And you want to, like, help them build themselves up. Types of guesting. So the way, the thing is like, what can you do as a cosplay guest? What things can you offer? So the obvious first one is a cosplay contest judge. I love that one the most. It's the funnest because you get to see all the cosplays and it's really exciting and it's fun to be part of the decision-making process. How do you get to be a cosplay contest judge? Well, you win competitions, unless it's a bad competition. But generally, the way you get to the point where you can be a cosplay contest judge is you have some awards. Now, you don't need a ton of awards. If you don't know, I only have 3 awards. I have only won 3 times. They are all best in shows, but I have only won 3 times. But they are all major awards. I don't have any minor awards. Because I have either won nothing or best in show. That is my entire competing career. Nothing or best in show. But you could also be a person with a table where a cosplay table guest where you sell things and you make the monies, or you can set up like a cosplay repair or a little something like that, or you can be a panelist. All kinds of things you can do cosplay panels about. You can do I would genuinely suggest that if you are just starting out with panels, you want to do lecture panels, because the other side, and I didn't put this on there, is workshops. Like being a workshop teacher. Being a workshop teacher is a lot harder than just being a regular panelist. Being a workshop teacher is also really cool. It's a lot more stressful. Doing a panel where you can just like give a lecture is so much more chill. That's also being like being a panelist is also like usually just requires you getting in. Basically every con, if you don't know this, has like a panel application form and anyone can fill it out, and you don't need any kind of following for that. But that's also a great way to get your name out there, is by doing a panel about something about cosplay. It could be anything, something you really care about. Could just be memes. I don't know if do people still do those, like, I never went to these. I'm not making fun of them, but those ones where you just like pretend like you're the characters and you do something like improv-y on the stage. Do people still do those? I don't know if those will get you like the guesting that you're looking for, because I feel like cosplay's, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, I'm not on TikTok, so I don't know. I feel like cosplay's going in a crafts, well, in my corner of the world, cosplay is going towards craftsmanship, valuing craftsmanship more, which it always has been valued, but I think it's coming up a little more. I could be totally wrong. What do y'all think? Is anybody like on TikTok and can tell me if that's right? I think that's happening because I want that to be happening, and that's what I'm trying to do over here. But anyway, not that those are bad. I just think like if you do a panel, and especially if you do like a panel that's like about teaching people how to do stuff, what that will do is that will give you the skills to work your way to being a workshop teacher. And being a workshop teacher is a pretty freaking good way to make your way into being a guest of the con, in that maybe you want to be the person that has the cosplay repair table and is like the cosplay repair guest. I feel like that's how you, and let's say you're at 0 and you, like, nobody knows who you are. Maybe you've never even been to a con before. First of all, go to a con and just enjoy it. But then eventually maybe do some educational panels, then try to start doing some workshops, and then you can be a guest. There's also being a host. I have not quite figured out yet how the you get that gig. If anybody knows how to get hosting gigs, please let me know, because it is the thing I would like to do, and I have no idea how to get them. It seems like that is completely random and is mostly just like either nepotism, again, which is how it all works, or like social media following, but my current dream is I would like to host things. I'll put that out there. That is what I want to do. I would like to be the MC of cosplay contests because I am actually a cosplayer and I take the time. Like I've done it a couple times, but at like tiny cons. I think it seems so fun. And I don't think I would be cringe. And then of course there's like industry guests, which is like completely unattainable to us. Okay, this next thing is, what should you sell at a booth? What sells at a booth? Okay, a lot of this is gonna depend on like what kind of cosplay you do. And so one of the most popular things, the things people go to immediately when they're like, what am I gonna sell at a booth? What cosplay products do I have? Is prints. So prints are just, you print out pictures of your best cosplays. Well, prints are hard to move, okay? For some people, they can have pretty good success with larger prints. I would say specifically that if you are a spicy person and you have spicy prints, you may have some good luck selling those spicy prints. However, for most of us, from what I have heard from other people, prints don't move. You cannot move them. The good thing is, though, they are really high margin. Real quick, money lesson. What is margin? So margin is like, if this ruler if this highlighter costs me 20 cents to make, but I sell it for $1, that's what, an 80%, no, it's a 500% margin, because I'm selling it for, math. Basically, it's the difference between how much a thing costs you to make and how much you sell it for, right? And prints are pretty cheap to get printed if you get the small ones. So I'll let y'all in. What I did for both Holiday Matsuri and MomoCon was I got postcard-sized prints of both of my Mikus. For Hallmat, I just have my Snow Miku, because that's what I was wearing. And then for MomoCon, I brought the rest of the Snow Miku prints that I didn't sell at Hallmat. And I got Strawberry Miku prints, and they were just like, they were 4x6. I sold them for $5, but I offered to sign every single one of them. So I thought that was like a pretty comparable deal. But you could sell them for way cheaper, because I think they were like, I think it was like $25 to get all of them. And so they were, I don't know, math. I think I got like 50. So I think they were like 50 cents to make. So that's a huge margin, right? I sold them for $5 because, like, I wanted to make my time at the booth, like, worth the time that I was standing there. And I felt like $5 was a fair price if I'm going to literally sign every single one that I give. So it's a cute little signed postcard, and the great thing about that is you can put that on your bulletin board. You can use it as a postcard, or as a bookmark, not as a postcard because it didn't have stuff on the back. Somebody said something about bookmarks. Little stuff, little prints, because, like, I don't know if you can see around this room, like, I have a print of Kokomi. I don't have a print of a single other cosplayer, like, in a frame in this room, because it's not really something people do anymore. I think they maybe, like, used to do it. And, for the spicy people, we can't deny that those usually go into, like, a spank bank, which is fine if you are okay with that happening. I support you. We support you. But, like, non-sexy large-scale prints just aren't really gonna sell, because people are kind of gonna be like, what am I gonna do with that? But little stuff, a little bookmark, a little postcard, it's just a little thing that can go on somebody's bulletin board or in somebody's book, and they sold really well for me. But I also think that they they have the ability to be a great little low cost option to have something to sell at your booth to have the, because I got mine on Vistaprint, and I legit think it was like $25 for all of them. So it's like if you go $5 for all of them, you only have to sell 5 before you've broken even on that. Whereas if you get the larger ones, it's more expensive, and then you have to make them more expensive, so it's harder. But yeah, from what I've heard, large scale prints don't move. You want to do little stuff, or stuff that people might actually like really like want or like be needing at the con. So I recently saw, I got this idea from, does anybody watch Shellbell Cosplay? She's a little cosplay channel on YouTube. She's nice. I met her at KatsuCon last year. She recently did a vlog where she had these little sewing kits of like you'd make like a frog or something. So it was just like you got little pieces of fabric and like little instructions and stuff. And obviously that takes a while to put together. But if you just want to put together little kits of any kind, you can charge a lot more for them because you like handmade them. But you could do like little first aid kits or little cosplay repair kits or little printed tutorials. That was another thing I had at, I had them at my Florida SuperCon booth, but it's on Patreon for free, but I was selling them for like $1 at MomoCon. And then I had laminated ones that were $3. So you could buy like this circle skirt guide, so you could like write down your measurements on your circle skirt guide, and it was laminated so you could keep it. And I just printed them out myself. Which I thought was a cool little idea. Or you could have nothing at all at your booth. You can just use your booth for networking, or showing off your work. Like bare minimum, you just plonk your butt in that booth and you just have one of your cosplays on display, and you just network with people. You just talk to people. You hope that some other cosplayer comes up and asks you about your work. Because remember how I said you should go do that? Well, the first time you ever are like a cosplay guest and you're just sitting there with nothing to sell with your work, and you're just like literally just sitting at the booth for several hours, the best thing that can happen to you is to have somebody come up and be like, oh my god, how did you make that? That is so cool. It's the best thing. Oh, and the other thing I would say is kind of a requirement, and this seems like really silly. Get a banner. You don't have to get a big one. I got a giant one because at Florida SuperCon, I literally had just like an 8.5 by 11 page with my name on it that I put up on the thing. And nobody could tell it was me from, you had to be right up there to know it was me. But so for MomoCon, I wanted the biggest banner I could get, and I did get it. And I love that thing. It's so pretty. But you don't have to get a giant one, but at least get like a little one that, I'd say 11 by 17 is the minimum size of a banner. 8.5 by 11 is too small. 11 by 17, get it, put it on the front of the table or behind you. Have something that has your name on it. You can do your socials too, but I think just like, as long as your cosplay handle is like the same thing everywhere, you can just do your name. Thanks for watching this year-old Patreon stream re-upload. If you want to see the Patreon streams actually live or in full, then you can check out my Patreon, because you can get access for just $1 a month. And a big thank you to Mel, or Pocket Leaves, who's editing these streams down for me so I can focus on my main channel videos. You can check out Mel's work on either their channel Pocket Leaves or Pocket Cons, and sometimes you'll even see me in their con vlogs. It's a special occurrence when it happens. But as always, if you're just watching, liking, commenting, subscribing, then you're supporting this channel too. So thank you. Bye!